Hi, welcome to Friday with Friends. Today we have Emily Janice from Women in Distress. Hi.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, of course. So let's just start off with some introductions. What type of services do you guys provide as far as any updates? Um,
Sure. So, Women in Distress, we remain the only certified domestic violence center in Broward County. So, we provide a lot of different services for survivors of domestic violence and their families, especially because we know survivors at various stages in the relationship or after the relationship need different things. So, some of our primary ones that I'm happy to jump into more later if any pique your interest, because there's a lot, is our 24-hour crisis hotline that you can contact anytime as a concerned community member, as a survivor who's in need of assistance, or even if you just want to talk, you're not ready to get services. So that number is 954-761-1133. And that's the gateway to the rest of the services that we have. So we do have an emergency temporary shelter for folks that are leaving their abusive situations and need a place to stay, a safe place to stay. We have outreach services for folks who might not be living with us or in our shelter, but need therapy and counseling, case management, and advocacy. We have an injunction for protection legal project, which can represent folks and work with folks on injunction cases, otherwise known as restraining orders. And we also have other various community services program, including me and my team who go out in the community and provide education and awareness like we're doing right now.
awesome. And that's really important because I think that um, part of like being able to let the community know like what's going on is also going to bring like more awareness to people that may be witnessing someone going through these situations or going through it themselves, to know that they have
Absolutely.
that support.
Absolutely. Awareness is the key to all of this. I think even just being able to talk about our services and for folks to know that we're here and what that looks like, and also what domestic violence looks like. A lot of survivors are isolated in their relationship. So their abuser may be telling them things like who's going to believe you, or nobody else is going to care or love you, or there's no other options essentially for you. For folks to know that and to know that we're here for them is huge. So it all starts with awareness. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really important for them to know that they have the resources and the support.
Oh yeah.
So since COVID, have you guys made any different changes now that, we're out of the COVID and kind of like getting back to regular life? Have you guys had any changes?
Yeah, so throughout COVID, obviously domestic violence didn't stop. We actually saw it get a little bit more complicated and harder, and more extreme in some cases. So our shelter continued to operate. We had some kind of quarantine and different like safety precautions. We wear masks, things like that. We still kind of go through different COVID checklists when folks are screened in for shelter, but that continues to operate and hasn't really changed throughout the pandemic. We're still at our full capacity and folks can come in. The biggest thing I think is we do limited telehealth when it's safe to do so. So we can do some virtual therapy and group sessions. Some of our groups are still virtual or have virtual options. We are bringing back more in-person options, but and all of our services are back in person, and there's some of those virtual. The other piece is our community training. So throughout the year, my team and I partner with different agencies or host our own trainings. Most of those have been virtual. We are starting to get back into some in person, but really with COVID, like I said, because domestic violence continued, we didn't really stop what we were doing, or we had to adjust it a little bit, but most of our services remained unchanged. So we're still out there in the community and doing our services at our center.
Okay. What are some of the community trainings that you guys do?
Yeah, so we often do domestic violence 101 trainings for professionals. We also have been doing lately a lot more parent trainings, because we know that we work with youth a lot in our primary prevention programs in schools and in different organization groups. And what we were starting to find was, okay, we're able to reach youth, but what about the people who are in their lives, the adults in their lives that could be those supportive folks, those trusted adults for them. So we've been trying to do a lot more webinars and workshops in the community for them, and partnering with other organizations. So you can always go to our website, womenindistress.org, to look at our training calendar. October, we were just talking about this a little bit ago. October is actually coming up, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we'll be doing a lot of stuff for that as well.
Yeah. Oh, that brings me up into, do you guys have any upcoming events?
Yeah, so we don't for the education side. I will say we're doing our annual back to school drive that's happening. So, feels like we just got into summer, but summer's already starting to wrap up. So we are, every year we collect donations of back to school items, because again, most of the time when survivors are leaving, they don't get time to prep all that much or really pack everything. And a lot of them are struggling financially, or that just might not be their first priority. So we want to make sure we can provide backpacks filled with supplies for our kids who are receiving our services. So if you are able to donate or would like to participate or learn more, the link is actually on our website for the list that we're looking for the supplies and how to get those to us. We're also looking for some volunteers. So if you want to help us pack backpacks or volunteers in other capacity, you can do that too with us. But that's kind of our biggest
really
step.
good. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to be putting all the contact information and everything in the video, well, underneath the video, so everyone can reach out to you.
Awesome.
So are there any other types of I know you mentioned the services, and I know it is lengthy of all the things that you guys provide, but is there anything that you kind of want to spotlight that you would like more support, or just to kind of bring more awareness to?
Sure. I think one thing with our hotline that I really like to let folks on, I kind of mentioned it briefly before, but I think calling a hotline can be a really big step for anybody, whether you're the survivor yourself, maybe you're a friend who's trying, who you're concerned about someone else and you even want to call the hotline with them or sort of for guidance. That hotline, we will not pressure you to get services. There's a live, warm, trained human answering those calls all the time. It really, I think it helps to demystify what reaching out to the hotline looks like. It could lead to further services if you choose, but really we're coming from a non-judgmental place where we just want to make sure you're safe. We want to help you talk through your situation and provide kind of some resources and ideas and safety planning. So, it can be that kind of connection to our services or even other resources in the community, but it can also just be that space to talk as a survivor, as a friend, even as a professional. So that's one thing I always really like to emphasize when I do these sorts of community things, and I appreciate y'all giving us the space to do that. The other piece is some of our specialty programs that we have in our outreach center and in residential. So we know, I mentioned it earlier, financial abuse happens in upwards of 90% of abusive relationships. It impacts almost all survivors. And even if they're currently in a job, they could be struggling to keep that job. Maybe it's affecting things like childcare and it's starting to trickle down. So we do have an economic justice program that works with survivors specifically around budgeting and finance and financial resources and credit repair. And we partner with a lot of agencies for that. So I like to mention specialty stuff like that too. So folks know when they come to us, it's not just shelter and it's not just, advocacy in terms of, okay, let's go to court, let's do these things. That's part of it. And often that's a big part, but TV affects so much of someone's life. So, for anyone who has someone in mind, or if you yourself need help, know that we do so many little things, and we really want to prioritize what you need and what you're seeing as you and your child's biggest needs right now.
And I think that the financial aspect is something that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of victims or survivors are financially dependent on their abuser, and that's also kind of what makes them feel so stuck, so
Absolutely.
like helpless in a sense.
Sure, it's one of the biggest reasons people don't leave, which I think is another big important thing to talk about with domestic violence. It's not easy to leave, and that's actually the most dangerous time for survivors when they're leaving the abusive relationships. Big reason is finances, especially in, like you were just, our current economy and the lack of affordable housing right now. A lot of it could be children. If your abusive partner is the other parent or even the step parent of those children, you might leave physically, but it doesn't mean that they're out of your life. It could complicate things. The children sometimes get caught in the middle in a way that's really unfair, that we want to be able to support the survivor, the non-offending parent in. And fear really is the number one reason. I think that's something that we don't talk about enough, but it is with every decision a survivor makes, including the decision to get services, the decision to talk to somebody, the decision to call law enforcement. All of those decisions have risks and benefits, right? And it's up to the survivor she knows her life best, or they know their life best. They know their children's needs best. So if finances, fear, children, legal issues, all sorts of stuff. Really, the question we should be asking is, how can we help you with where you want to be right now? Maybe it's you're not ready to leave, but you want to start reaching out. Maybe you're watching this and you just want to get some information,
Yeah.
maybe you want to talk to someone trusted in your life.
Yeah, and I like that you like you said, you guys are, it's coming from a non-judgmental place, and you're kind of like able to provide resources in any aspect, in any phase that a person may need it. So I think that's really awesome and important.
Thank you. Yeah, I do like to mention none of our services are mandatory. We operate on what's called the empowerment-based philosophy, which is actually a philosophy that all statewide certified domestic violence centers in the state of Florida use. And essentially we believe in the survivor's ability to self-determine their violence-free future. We don't pretend that we know what's best for them. I could talk about DV all day and the dynamics and help someone through that. But at the end of the day, we believe that they can make decisions, and we want to empower them to do that, give them the tools and the resources and the knowledge. So, we really do want to be non-judgmental and welcome survivors into that space.
Yeah, and that person having a voice and being able to advocate for themselves is really going to give them strength to get through everything,
Oh my
so that's
gosh.
really important.
Absolutely. Well said. Absolutely.
Okay, well, did you have any questions, anything you wanted to
No, again,
provide
I
us
just
with?
want to let folks know that you can call our hotline. We have our services. And I do want to just give one more plug for our volunteer program. We did open up our volunteer program post-COVID. That was actually one COVID change I forgot to mention when you asked that question. So we now are welcoming community members who want to volunteer with us on a longer term basis. You do need to go through an application process with some background checks and training. But if anyone out there is interested, we need the community, we need volunteers, we need, survivors need your support. So if you're interested in getting more involved on a volunteer basis, you can also go to our website, which I know will be included in there, and look at our volunteer page. You can look at the different, opportunities and what's required, but we would love to have you volunteering with us if you're interested.
Yeah, I think that the back to school one too, like I can imagine you guys are going to need not only just like the items, but like you said, help packing them and everything like that. So
oh my gosh, yeah, I think last year we packed like 400 something backpacks.
Oh,
and if it was just us doing that, we could never. So
yeah,
we always get some really awesome groups in, and yeah, if anyone's interested, but it's super fun. It's just a lot of backpacks, a lot of
yeah, but it's rewarding,
Absolutely.
Sounds like it's going to be really rewarding.
Yeah. Any way we can support survivors is great. And, as simple as something like a backpack, and that they don't have to worry about, funding their child's year in school, which is astronomical too. That can really be a huge difference for a survivor, and just help kind of get that one thing in place that they can start working on other things too.
Yeah, I remember the schools having like long lists of like everything that was needed for the new school year. It can be a lot. Yeah, that's really good.
But yeah, and do feel free to reach out to us with any questions. But I appreciate y'all giving us the space. It's always good to be on these Fridays with friends.
Yes, it was great having you. Thank you so much for chatting with us today on Friday with Friends. And like we said, the information is going to be below. Anyone wants to volunteer or check out all the services that you guys provide.
So thanks so much.